Are you involved? Have you been alerted, or do you have anything to do with the rematch?
No, I haven't heard anything as far as I know the world been wanting me to work with Earl for this fight. Like I said, if anybody knows, then I'm open to work with Earl. I've never not been open. I've always been accessible and available anytime that he's called my phone or anytime his dad has reached out to me to work with him. So we have we have a relationship. But he's a father. He's a businessman. He's a promoter, and so he has an everyday life. So I'm pretty sure on his end, he's just being a father and being a family man and taking care of his everyday duties in business. So that's just the typical life of an adult. So, if he calls, he calls. If he doesn't, I'm still Team Spence. I'm rocking with him. I wish him the best. I hope that whether he calls me or not, he makes the right decisions for this fight. But, you know, as I say, I trained in 5 years. I don't think nobody outside of Derrick James understands how to work with Earl and understand how to get the best out of him outside of Derrick James and me, because Derrick James has worked with him, of course, almost his entire career. When I say that, because he started boxing with another guy, I forgot the guy name, but it's a Hispanic guy down here, and then Derrick James took over, and then Derrick James went with him through his amateur and his pro career. But as far as strength and conditioning wise, I know that I've worked with him longer than anybody else. So we went 5 years, 11 fights, 11 stoppages. And a lot of people always talk about that the reason Earl stopped knocking people out is because of the better competition. But like I said, I tell anybody, if he would have trained with me through the Mikey fight, he would have stopped him. If he would have trained with me with Sean Porter, he would have stopped him. So the only difference is we know that Earl changed up his training regimen, and that's just the facts. That's not an excuse. That's just the facts. So at the end of the day, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. We have been perfect working with each other, and I believe that if we work with each other in the future, he's still going to be dominant and perfect, because the type of style and training that I have, nobody else understands my formula. Nobody else does it. So, people can speculate all they want. But let's talk about what the numbers say. So, but as far as me hearing anything, I haven't heard anything, but I say all that to say this, that I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm open.
So, so you have 100% knockouts with every fight you've worked with him?
Yes, 11 fights, 11 stoppages. And nobody made it past the 11th round. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's the number that definitely, like you said, numbers don't lie. That I wasn't aware. I knew it was mostly stoppages. I don't know it was all stoppages. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you do have to kind of do the math, put two and two together, and say, well, there's something there. We're not talking one or two fights. We're talking 11 fights, 5 years. So, I talked with Derrick James briefly, because there was rumors that Errol's gonna leave Derrick James. I don't know if you heard those, but those Derrick told me at least those are false.
Yeah, I heard it, but I don't believe everything I see on the internet, and I don't believe in me personally. I hadn't been that close to the situation. I hadn't even been interested in finding out whether it's true or not. Like it's the same thing about YouTube and the internet, is that people that are content creators in these days, people they want to they go with everything they hear just to get clicks and views, and I don't respect it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. The only reason I'm even speaking on it is because I know Derrick personally. I literally reached out to him and he told me, no, that's not true. I didn't think it was true, but you never know. Um, Errol did take a loss, did do something happen to him that he's never dealt with in his life. So sometimes people make kind of crazy moves. You've seen fighters switch trainers and tons of times after a loss. But I'm with you. I don't like that either.
Well, in my opinion, if you Derek was telling him was giving him the right information. He was telling him right. If anybody had 2 ears and heard what Derrick James was telling him to do, it just for some reason seemed like Earl couldn't execute what Derrick was telling him to do. But he was coaching him properly, in my opinion.
So, could you? I know we've talked about this, but I want to refresh my memory. Could you clearly see what looked like some kind of a strength and conditioning problem in Errol to you in the Crawford fight?
I'm gonna say this. I seen the videos of when the people were working with him, and I'm sure it wasn't everything, right? But at the end of the day, he wasn't strong, and there might have been some other factors that contributed to that. But at the end of the day, what we seen is what we get, and the only thing we can do is take what we seen in his performance and what he did in his strength training, and we didn't see no strength, and that's just the fact. So I'm not going to say that there was a problem in his strength and conditioning, but at the end of the day, when he was training and when I was looking at the videos that I did see, I said that the things that they were doing were not going to help him. I said that for sure.
Okay. So you're pretty confident that for this rematch, you can get him to a level where he'll look strong again and durable?
What does my track record say?
Yeah.
See, I don't have to say what I can do. What I can do has already been proven. So I don't even have to vouch for myself on that. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you ever heard the interviews that Errol did on Fred Barbershop Conversations when I trained him for the Manny Pacquiao fight, he said he was back. And he was back to that old Errol Spence that y'all seen with Lamont Peterson, Chris Algieri, and Kell Brook. But to be honest with you, y'all were going to even see another level because the Manny Pacquiao fight was the first fight that I used weights on Earl's body. I had never used weights. So all those 11 fights with the 11 stoppages where nobody never got past the 11th round, we were doing 100% calisthenics with no weightlifting. Now, I always wanted to train Earl with weights, but he wasn't fond of weights. He didn't like lifting weights. But at the end of the day, the Manny Pacquiao fight was the first fight that I used weights on his body, and I promise you were going to see a whole different level. Now, like I tell people, I never got Earl to pass 50% of where I could have got him because certain things that he just didn't like to do, and I respected it. He didn't like lifting weights. He didn't like doing certain things, so I had to come up with recipes and formulas and just use my intelligence in my skill level of training to come up with a recipe that benefits him, that will get the job done, and when y'all see him, give him the best look. So, like I tell people, there was way more levels of strength that I could have got Errol Spence. That's a fact.
Okay, yeah, he doesn't like weights. Yeah, that's common, man. I never liked weights when I fought a lot of fighters that I knew. The only time I saw fighters doing weights was when they were trying to go up a weight division. They were trying to bulk up, or at least heavy weights. They would do light ones sometimes, right? But so if you were to be involved in his camp, typically, like, when do you come in? Do you come in from the jump, or do you come in when do you think you'd be notified?
I'm not sure, but like I told somebody asked me a couple of days ago about how long would it take me to get Errol Spence at least at a baseline strength wise where he could come in and still do his thing. And I say, just give me 5 to 6 weeks. I'll have him ready. Sure.
5 or 6 weeks. Okay. Being that Terrence, because coming in, we heard a lot of oh, he's a wrestler. He's probably going to be stronger than they think. These wrestlers are strong. We heard all this stuff. But regardless of that, Errol was still looked at as the stronger fighter, bigger, stronger fighter. And then, in that fight, obviously it looked the opposite. Would you take a different approach, being that you're training, you're increasing the strength of one of your guys who's going up against an actual wrestler who's very core strong?
Well, of course, because you got to think about it. Like wrestlers have very strong bases. Anybody know anything about wrestlers? Their bases super stout, very strong in their base. And we wouldn't reinvent the wheel. I would make sure Earl's base is strong. Him and Derrick James do what they do, and I just condition his body to be able to go 12 rounds and train him to get stronger as the fight goes, like I've always done. So the recipe wouldn't change.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, they're saying the fight will be some December or January, which is I got to do math now. October, November. That's in 3-4 months. I mean, I don't think that's feasible at this point to have a fight in 3 months. But if that's the case, I mean, you say you only need 5 weeks. It makes sense. And then I was saying before that fight's important because the winner is probably going to be looking very closely at the Charlo and Canelo fight. And I assume at some point, Charlo or Canelo are going to end up fighting Errol or Bud, depending on what happens. And, if you were to train Errol for example, Canelo, right? Somebody who's, I guess, way bigger, I guess. I think he's not taller, but he's maybe whatever. That would add an extra challenge, right? Training for somebody who's a 168 pounder.
Not for me, it wouldn't.
No?
Not for me, no, of course not. Like, don't nobody train like I train. And the difference is that I work out myself. So a lot of strength and conditioning coaches, they don't work out. They do basic stuff. Like me, I train like I'm training for NFL, NBA combine, and those individuals still can't even handle most of my workouts, and I'm 42 years old. So people have to understand that there's levels to training. A lot of people talk about training, a lot of people teach training, but a lot of people don't know how to apply the training. And that's where I come in. I not only teach, have the knowledge, but I apply at a high level at the age of 42 years old.
So you were saying that with Errol specifically, I guess one of the challenges was to get him to do certain things that he usually doesn't do, like lift weights, but get him to do it in a way where he'll do it and it'll also kind of blend into the boxing workout, right?
100% correct.
Do you encounter that a lot when you train clients? I don't know what you call them, where they don't want to do certain things. You got to kind of finagle it.
Well, no. Anybody else that I train, they do exactly what I tell them. Earl was the second professional boxer that I actually trained in. To be honest with you, like I said, when I first started training Earl, I did not know what I was doing. I was training him like a basketball player, training him like a football player. And it took me time. It took me 6 fights to really get in a rhythm to understand the boxing world. And that was my second boxer. So as somebody that was used to training the everyday person, training football players, track athletes, and things of that nature, I had to really study and understand what was best for boxers. And I believe that that's why I got the best out of Earl, because his natural ability equated, combined with the type of style of training that I grew to understanding what was best for boxing, is how we got the result that we got. So most boxers had the mindset, and I believe the reason Earl didn't want to use weights is because it was like a thing amongst boxers not to use weights because they slow you down and make you stiff, and that's just propaganda from people that don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean, I know all the years I've been a fighter, and I never, I've played ball, basketball, other sports. For me, having boxing as my core since I was young, having my heart muscle, everything conditioned for boxing, I never get tired doing anything. Like basket, I could run up and down the court all day long. It does nothing. So I'm curious if when you train boxers, do you gotta, maybe this is just my arrogance talking because I was a boxer, but I feel like boxers are already there. Do you got to go even higher with boxers because you find that their baseline is already so much more conditioned?
No, there's like my conditioning is totally different from anybody. Anybody has ever worked with me, they'll tell you that my level one, my baseline is the average athlete, professional athletes, top of the line.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I worked with somebody recently who's a trainer. He did boxing, but he had me start throwing punches with weights in my hand, and that got my arms like so tired, like because I'm not used to it. But then I could go hit the bag. I'll hit the bag all day long. It won't bother me. So yeah, I guess it's all about what you condition your body, what your body gets used to. So you're right, and I guess what you do is you make sure every single thing is conditioned. So you could do anything. Yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask you this: if Errol brings you on for this rematch, I mean, how confident are you that he'll get that victory? Like, how confident are you?
I've always been confident in Earl's ability because, like I said, he's my favorite fighter. And I'm not saying that because just I train him. I just love his style. I just love everything he does in boxing. So, he comes to fight. And a lot of boxers don't come to fight. And that's one thing I've appreciated in him throughout his career. That anytime that Errol Spence fought, you knew you were going to get a fight. You weren't going to see nobody running around the ring, nobody jabbing somebody for the whole fight, staying on the outside, being elusive. You were going to actually get a fight. So, I've always been confident in his ability, his style. Some people don't favor it, and I respect that. I don't go back and forth about somebody that don't like a certain style because I like so many different styles. It's kind of crazy that one of my favorite fighters outside of Earl is getting ready to fight one of Earl fighters, and that's Shakur Stevenson. Because I like boxing. I really like boxing. Like if somebody going to box, I want to see boxing. You know what I mean? So it's just I've always been confident in his ability, and like I said, I wasn't a part of this last camp. If I was a part of the camp, I could see what was going on and really assess it. So anything that I say is speculation in the summer side, and I don't like assuming things, but we do know something was wrong. Like I don't care what nobody say. Some everything wasn't clicking. So I don't know what didn't click in this camp, but something was not clicking. He didn't have no strength. He looked tired as hell. And we don't know what the reason was it for. The only thing we can do is speculate. The best thing that information we could get would be from him, but we know Earl is not the type of person making an excuse. He's got a private person. He's not going to talk about it, so it is what it is. He's just going back to the drawing board. He reactivated the rematch, and he's going to do what he got to do to get back in there and get the victory.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, as a spectator, right? Let's say you're not included in this rematch. Do you think Errol can win? Just as a fan, spectator.
Of course, it's boxing. Anybody can get hit, and it'd be night for anybody. So, it's just kind of funny how people just count them out. We've seen plenty of people lose fights and then come back and win. So, for somebody to say he doesn't have a puncher's chance, or doesn't have an opportunity to win, they're just being naive. So, in a rematch, I'm going for Earl. I'm a Terrence Crawford fan. It's just that when he fights Earl, I'm going for Earl. You know what I mean? So that's all that is, So, but I'm going for Earl again. I'm gonna put money on him again. I put money on the first fight. I'm gonna put money on this fight. If he win, he win. If he lose, he lose. He's the one in the ring. He know what he got to do. Like I'm not in the ring. I can't fight for him. So, I'm gonna just put my money where my mouth is, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess why this one specifically people are talking is because it was so lopsided. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, Buster Douglas beat the shit out of Mike Tyson. Whooped his ass from bell to bell. And if they would have rematched, Tyson still would have been a dominant favorite. But he was Mike Tyson, and he was that, once in a lifetime kind of fighter, maybe. But it makes me wonder why do you think so many people do think that Errol has no chance to rematch? You think it's just because of how dominantly Bud was victorious the first time?
Yeah, of course that's what it is. We're not gonna be naive. Yeah, we're not gonna be naive about the situation, So it is what it is. But I believe Earl gonna make the proper adjustments. He's a dog. He could have tucked his tail, but he coming back full force. So I believe he's gonna do what he got to do. I don't believe that we're gonna see the same fight. I believe we're gonna see a more competitive fight, and I believe Earl can get the victory for sure. Because even before this fight, Any fight I've ever tried, Earl, I never said, you know what I'm saying? No, I ain't gonna say I never said, but it was always, you know, how to me wondering how the fight gonna go. Not if he's gonna win, and I just speculate. I wonder how this fight gonna go. And like I said, every time, man, he went in and he did his thing. He punished people. So, and that's what I expected this fight. It just didn't go that way. It is what it is. So, we're gonna see whenever they set the date and everything is official, we're gonna see how it goes. My thing is just training to be in the best shape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's so many different perspectives on it. I hear people say, "Well, the first couple rounds, he was being himself. He was coming at him. He was hitting him. It just wasn't doing anything to Bud, and Bud's counters were doing something to Errol." So then you get into like, well, was Bud just tough and he took Errol's punch, or did Errol just not wasn't hitting as hard? I mean, I agree with you that he looked a little off in. I don't even mean in the ring, because that could have been a reaction to how when he got hit. I meant before the fight and after. His eyes were glazed over. He looked like something was a little off. But um, again, in my opinion, just because it was such a huge gap in skill in that fight, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Whatever was going on with Errol, if there wasn't something going on with Errol, because it was too lopsided. But in a rematch, no, I know this from experience. You can correct things 1,000%. So you're absolutely right. He has a great chance in the rematch, but because he lost so one-sidedly the first time, a lot of people, including myself, I don't give him much of a chance to win. But I mean, of course, he has one because he's still Errol Spence. You can't erase 28 fights what he did with one loss.
Nah, I agree 100%, man. So I got confidence early, man. I believe it. I'm not gonna let one fight, uh, discourage me for going for them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like your favorite football team or basketball team. They lose, they play again. They get another opportunity. So, Earl know what he got to do, man. And I'm confident he gonna do what he needs to do. So, whether it's bringing me in or not, I believe he gonna make the best decision for himself, and that's all I care about.
Well, I want to see him bring you in because, as you brought to my attention, your track record is clearly impeccable with him, and you give him proven. You give him the best opportunity, the best chance he has to get this victory, and you know everybody wants to see that. Not only him, but fans. Everybody wants to see, because I mean that's I was very disappointed in that fight because I wanted to see a closer fight. So I really hope he does bring you in, man. And I appreciate you talking to me, and let's talk again if anything is solidified